Low Romantic, written and read by Neil Griffiths. Music by Doofus. Naples, Part 1. Chapter 1. Daniel's room is at the top of a narrow building. With its high vaulted ceiling, it reminds him of a small medieval chapel. Above the narrow bed there is a faded fresco. The blue is pale, the red has become pink and powdery, and the figures are as hazy as the past. In 4 tableaux, it tells the story of Susanna and the elders. The room has a balcony, wide and shallow, almost a shelf. Below is the small rectangle of Piazza Bellini. In the early morning sun, the cobbles glint with a silver-white sheen, as if transformed into something precious. During the afternoon, they seem to melt entirely, and the piazza becomes a reflecting pool, a great mirror of light. For his own safety, he has been told not to stand on the balcony. A hand gestured to the buildings opposite, picked out large windows and drew in the air angles of sight, of trajectory. He wore a gold watch, this policeman, thick dark hair stopped at his wrist. There was talk of assassini. Daniel repeated the word under his breath. The succession of S's were like a bullet through the air, the bursting of a hole, the deflation of life. He has already experienced something like this and survived, so he ignores the advice. Besides, he knows it is only from this balcony that he will see her arrive. And he knows that when you are waiting for someone, when you are desperate for them, there is worse pain than being shot. It is like your whole body is being strangled, that your veins are flooded with poison, and every thought of the beloved takes your breath away. So to sit perched on the edge of a bed waiting for a knock on the door is an impossibility. A year ago to the day he waited for the first time. When the city was quiet, he knew he might hear her footsteps from streets away. There were moments when his senses were so attuned he detected the minutest deceleration of a passing car on the main street, or the soft, silent turning of the steering wheel, bringing it into the piazza. He thought he knew, when planes landed and trains arrived, that he could see, as if it were really happening, her flash through the arrivals lounge, the station concourse, and into a taxi. This is why he is standing on the balcony, body like an aerial, hands ringing the wrought iron balustrade, every sense straining to surpass itself. Waiting of this nature is a great summoning, an ingathering of the wider world to bend to our will, to obey us, to create a miracle. A year ago, a letter was delivered. The stationery had the name of a firm of lawyers on the back. He received it at his door, a sheet around his waist. The envelope was placed in his hands. It wasn't from her. You must read, he was told. The lip of the envelope was tucked in, like a telegram or an older form of communication when decency was its own prohibition. He hadn't showered for days. His pores were clogged. There was a discrepancy between the cool brightness of the envelope and his dirty hands, his black nails. It is not for me. He went to hand it back. You must. They are lawyers, important. The old woman took it from him and placed it on the small table by the door. Nobody knows I'm here. They are lawyers, Camorra lawyers, you know. He shut the door. For 2 weeks since he fled Palermo, he lived naked or wrapped in a sheet, its hem sweeping the floor of his room like the robes of a Roman senator. His sleep had been a delirium, sweat-soaked, a terrible thrashing. For days he'd been unable to eat. In the room below they talked about him, his wound, that he was a broken-hearted man. They all knew her name. Perhaps he called it out at night. He imagined them crossing themselves. On the third day, from the balcony, he had whistled to a young boy on the piazza. "Bring me wine." His instructions were complicated, as if the wine had special meaning, its taste broken down into fruits and spices, the ingredients of a spell. The boy also brought him thick, large-skinned tomatoes, mozzarella the size of fists. His mouth wide open, he bit into one and then the other as if they were each an apple, and wiped away the juices from his chin with the back of his hand. The wound in his shoulder ached. At times the pain caused him to buckle at his knees. From under his door a second letter appeared, slipping across the tiles to his feet. Nothing is as bright as an Italian lawyer's correspondence. No typeface is finer. On his balcony, eating a tomato, drinking wine, the sun ablaze, he read the letter. The city was quiet. Only particular noises cut through. A command, a car horn, the crash of cutlery. Below him in the piazza there were a few parked cars. Cafe tables were like objects seen through clear water, the sun streaming in. To read he needed to squint. What was he being asked? An appointment had been made and missed. A fresh appointment had been scheduled. His appearance was advised. The waiting room was like a hospital for the poor. The women wore black, some hideous with age. Even when beautiful, the younger women seemed filthy, as if born direct from the earth. The old men coughed hard, their lungs like sun-dried meat. They all clutched forms, petitions, paperwork crumpled in their hands. The office was large and airy with tall open windows. Papers rustled under ceiling fans. The lawyer was wearing a grey suit, a white shirt, a dark blue tie. His secretary was in a brown linen dress, wide black belt loose on her hips. He was asked to sit before a glass and aluminium desk. On the top there was a white blotter, an angle-poised lamp, letter knife, fountain pen, a small mobile phone. The lawyer was 40, broad, with fine hands. He kept his fingers together like fins and moved things around the desktop in a kind of preparatory arranging. He appeared to do nothing that could be done by his secretary, including opening a drawer in his desk, removing a file and placing it in front of him. Every time he called her, he sat back, out of her way, so she might more easily work around him. The lawyer picked up a piece of paper, a copy of the letter. He read with his head back, eyes lowered, as if the contents were new to him. "Do you know my client Lorenzo Savarese?" "No." "He is a businessman here, a young man. He has business interests in Sicily. We were once the same kingdom, you know." "Yes. He has instructed me to help you because these interests have asked him to do so." "And how is he going to help me?" How do we help people? Often by preventing them making mistakes. It is not enough to tell a child not to walk across a road, we have to prevent them. Do you understand? I understand only that you can die of love and that you cannot. Indeed, Senor Sean. Do not go back to Palermo. Chapter 3. On the balcony where he is at risk, the sunlight gives the morning an airy permanence. It is like the sunlight on old film stock, glittering and speckled. He is visited by important people. They pace the room or sit on the bed. Prosecutors, judges, senior policemen. At one point, the mayor of Naples, for once a good man. To their questions, variations of the same, he answers exactly what he has told them before, what he has promised them from the start. He will say no more until she is with him. He feels equal to their pressure. At his feet there are many cigarette stubs. Everyone smokes. Everyone has coffee on their breath. At one point, all their combined voices create a rough-pitched plain chant. They say he doesn't understand, that from their perspective, he understands too well. Had they read Macbeth, there is a clue in the way he regards his hands. But they are Italian, and they use hands differently. Perhaps she will not come, Signor Sean. What if she doesn't? He ignores them. Please, you are in danger. Yes. But he is proving himself, standing on the balcony, to her, to them. When they leave, they are generous with their thanks and clutch his hand with both hands. Out on the street, they duck into sleek black cars parked on the piazza, armed drivers standing by the open doors. If they cross the piazza, they do not look up. He goes into his room and turns on the small television. On the screen, there are funerals of men he knows.